Welcome to the Yanagida podcast show, episode 16. I'm with special guest, Melissa Ling, Dr. Melissa Ling. Ooh, I like the ring to that one. Who earned her doctorate in physical therapy, who's also a certified strength and conditioning specialist, CSCS. So, Melissa, how did you get started on all of this? Because that's very impressive.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, this is it was kind of a hard spot because I was graduating college and I didn't really have a place to go in terms of a career path. And I thought I wanted to do medicine because my family does medicine and I've always loved it. But in the end, I really wanted something that kind of was a little more hands-on and not so much like bang, 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 10 patients, 10 minutes kind of thing. I wanted to spend more time with people and get involved in movement and the musculoskeletal system and anatomy. It's all great stuff. And I liked how it all worked together and being the main problem solver and the person who people go to, you know what I mean?
Problem solving, I like that.
Yeah. People go to you for things versus if you go to a doctor, they might know what to do, but they're not it depends on what it is, but they're not necessarily the main person who's going to make you better. If you go to PT, I'm going to be the one that gets you better and we're going to celebrate that together. And we go on this awesome journey of rehab and it's really great.
See, that's really cool. Melissa, where does that stem from? Is it because you're from the first time we met, I kind of want to go into that back in
Sure.
middle school or something, but when we first met, I just had this sense of you wanted to help people, nurture people, take care of people. And from then to where you are now, is that kind of how it went? The childhood, did any of that mold who you are today?
I think a little bit. I think
a little bit.
A part of it was just medicine is super fascinating,
Medicine.
and I love to see how things work. I'm not great at math, so probably not going to be an engineer. So I could just cross out those things. I have decent people skills. I can move well. I can teach. I actually really like teaching. And so I was should I be a teacher? But that doesn't really scratch all the itches, if that makes sense. So it kind of became a process of elimination for a while. I went and looked at occupational therapy, see what they did, looked at nutritionists, and I was I don't know if I can see myself doing that. And then when I started shadowing and stuff, then I was oh, okay, I could see myself here. This is awesome. This is something cool.
See, that's really cool. And before the physical therapy, I think when we were in college, was there something about training at a gym or something like that before?
So I did a couple different things. Yeah. So I got in, so I went to University of Washington in Seattle. It's a really big school. They have a beautiful, massive gym facility. I started teaching there. So I did strength and conditioning kind of classes. If people have done body pump before, it was kind of a rip off of body pump. I did some circuit training. It was really fun. I did that for about 3 years. I did it during college. And I did it during grad school as well. I didn't get my CSCS through them. I actually went and got it after when I worked for another clinic who wanted me to do more strength training with patients. Because a lot of issues that people are having with physical therapy is it only takes you so far. And then once you get to okay, I can do everyday things again, usually patients just, they peace out. But then if you want to get to past that, it's hey, what brought you here in the first place? You weren't really in shape. You were weaker in these areas. Let's make you stronger. So being able to kind of take that PT, but that next level that gets you outside of PT. And that's what got me interested more in the CSCS and the strength and conditioning stuff.
Dang. And that's after college. And that's incredible. What was that process like? Because I have a lot of people who are interested in some sort of physical work or personal training, CSCS, physical therapy. What was the CSCS like for you?
So the CSCS is an exam that you'll take. There's two portions. There's a practical portion, which is not really hands-on. You watch some videos, you analyze some movement, and you kind of decide where does training go from there. And there's another portion that goes more into the exercise physiology part, which probably makes it a little bit harder than other types of certifications, mainly because it just goes so in depth, which is great. And there's a lot of parallels with some of the stuff in the book, which I learned in grad school. That test costs $500, $600, so it's expensive. You have to pass both sections. If you fail one, I think you can retake the one that you failed. I almost failed it. I think I passed by a couple questions on one of them.
Hey!
Yeah, but it's fine. I'm here.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyways, it was a lot of memorization. You have to memorize a lot of numbers, know what the training protocol is for certain things. You have a 30-year-old basketball player. What should their height, or what should their jump be? What should they be benching? Which I don't remember anymore because I don't work with basketball players. But yeah, so there's a lot of memorization, a lot of work that goes into it. But it's worth it. It's nice to have the credentialing behind you so people know and trust you, because the CSCS is definitely like at the top of the certifications for personal training, because it's college level athletes. You look at strength coaches on the football teams, the professional football teams, they all have those same letters.
CSCS. Dang. Oh my gosh. So wait, so that just made me think about clientele. What's the typical like people you work with day to day?
Yeah. So right now I see a really big variety. It could be like for a little bit, I had a lot of like high school athletes, and we were just working, like getting them back to sport.
High school athletes. Yeah.
It just depends. Right now I have like a ton of shoulder patients, but they're not necessarily athletes. They could be like people who just sit at a desk all day and they're having pain, or people who just work like very like hands-on jobs, and then they hurt themselves doing something and that pain doesn't go away.
By the way, I love your videos. For people listening, like your videos on your on the gram, that's actually why I was like, hey, Melissa, that's what caught me. I was like, yo, these exercise, these form things, and dang. So if people are listening, where can they find you? And I was gonna ask you at the end, but just in case you want to jump.
No, that's fine. We'll shout out again at the end. So my Instagram is Melissa, MELISSALDPT, and that's it. It's just my name and my last initial, DPT. I started it because, I started working for this clinic that I'm at right now, and they're a little bit more on top of the social media game, which I was like, okay, I gotta step this thing up. So, and I don't really like to post on social media a lot. So I'm still trying to get more comfortable with it, trying to make it look nice. And so, I put content on, so I work at Bespoke Treatments, like Bespoke. So you'll see me on their page a lot more. I usually send them content, and then I put it on my own page sometimes for people to do. But it's nice to, just kind of connect with the professional community a bit more. But yeah, I'm still like working on it. So there's not a lot on there right now.
No, I like it though. Like I particularly remember the chair one, when you're in the chair position. And you were doing your I was like, oh, this is great, because I got to learn some stuff too. And
people love that one.
Yeah, people listening to this, I secretly wanted Melissa to come on because I know I'm going to learn a lot from her. That's why I wanted to get her on here. I was like, secretly too, you guys are going to benefit from this too, but I know I am too. So just wanted to thank you again for hopping on, Melissa.
Of course.
And just curious, so like someone listening who is what you described, the desk worker, works 9 to 5 at a desk, what are a couple of things that you might recommend them to do if they have like shoulder pain or hip pain?
So one thing that I really drill into patients a lot is just taking frequent breaks. So like I had a patient recently, and he has like this like really awful shoulder pain that goes down his arm. And I'm like, okay, I know you work from home. It's not a great setup. How often are you taking breaks? And he's like, he just smiled at me. And he's like, I don't take breaks. So he's working like 8-10 hours a day, just sitting, just to get up to pee. And so we like figured out ways to get him up more. You could set a timer. People put reminders. He started doing this thing where instead of having a big water bottle by his desk, he had a small cup. So he had to get up to fill his cup every single time.
Oh, wow.
So taking breaks is a really big one, anywhere between 30 to 50 minutes. Like around an hour is probably that maximum, like for anybody. You sit for too long, you're going to get uncomfortable. Another thing is changing positions. So and I talk about this a lot in the Instagram and some of the stuff on Instagram, is if you sit in like your perfect posture, right? But you're here for 8 hours, it's still not going to be ideal. So you can switch it up. You can cross your legs, you can uncross them, you can sit on the ground, you can kneel, you can stand. And that's why people have standing desks that switch back and forth. People sit, like they lie on their stomach on the ground. Like it's not great for too long either way, but you need to change the joint position because it's going to get too much stress if it's a little too long. And I think those are my two biggest things for people who are just starting to feel that stiffness and pain. Sometimes it evolves into a little bit more than that. And then that's when people come in the door and they're like, hey, it's not going away. What do I do?
There we go. See, that's it. Change positions and then take breaks every 30 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Dang. And that's so good because if you think about it, a lot of people do just want to just sit and just grind at something. They made
Oh
me
yeah,
think about that.
totally.
And it's so important because even for me too, like recently doing a lot of virtual things,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, after like an hour and a half, I'm like, whoa, my shoulder, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to stand up a little bit. I'm like, dang. So that I love that. Great advice. And what about for? Okay, this is not on the thing, but what about for someone who works out frequently? What are some
Mm-hmm.
things that you might recommend? I mean, it's a general question because
Mm-hmm.
without knowing all the details, but like let's say for someone who works out 5 days a week, for me, for instance, if I'm working out and then I
Yeah.
have like knee pain and hip pain, because I do
Yeah.
have knee pain and hip pain. Yeah. What would you
Um,
think? Just without.
so
Mhm.
yeah, without too much context, one, I want to look at like, well, what are you even doing? Are you running 5 days a week? Are you lifting
Mm,
5 days a week? Are you switching it up? Like changing the different systems that you're using? Like you're not hitting legs 5 days a week because then that's going to hurt your knees and your hips. But I
right.
mean, but you do have those people who are like constantly exercising. I'm guilty of it too sometimes. I go to like
Hmm.
exercise classes, I go on runs, I lift, and I do all these things. But every once in a while, like you need to be specific. So if I have knee pain, and as a PT, I know with knee pain, I need to strengthen my hips because my hips are weak. So then I take the time out of my routine to like, okay, I'm just going to dedicate this day to just like a rehab day where I strengthen what needs to be strengthened to take stress off my knee. Does that make sense?
To
So,
take
and
stress
then,
off the knee. Yeah.
and then there's things like, just very, very specific strength training. Cause sometimes, people go in the gym and they do whatever people tell them to, but what do they really need? You know?
Hmm.
So just making sure you're meeting the needs of what your body, needs to do based on what you're trying to do. So if you're running and your core is really weak, but you don't do any core training, but you still run all the time. So it's just, again, it depends on the needs, but you need to be
Good point.
specific sometimes.
The
Yeah.
dysfunctions. Yeah. Wow. Core, hips. Yeah, that's a good point. Goes all the way down to the ankles. Yeah,
I
man,
know
this is
it's,
good. I'm gonna take notes and come back to this. And once I replay this, I'm gonna be like, okay, do this. Make sure I'm changing the energy system.
yeah,
Be more
you can.
specific some days. Yeah,
Yep.
this is good. Dang. And so I'm curious, Melissa, as a physical therapist, what are some of the things that you do to overcome some of the daily challenges? Because I know there's some lot of stresses going on working with different people, stuff like that. But what do you normally like to do?
So some of the daily challenges, especially in this field, was like I do get to spend a lot of time with people, which I
Hmm.
love, but sometimes you just get really attached and like you really feel that like guilt if they're not getting better. But
Oh,
like, you know what I mean? So like, but
yeah.
they're not putting in the effort, like I can only motivate someone, and you know this too, like you can only motivate a client so much. And if they don't believe it and truly change to do the work, it's not going to happen. So stuff like that, like I just need to like take a step back and just breathe and realize like there's some stuff that's really out of my control and it's time to move on to the next thing. Sometimes I'll just like go out and take a walk, and I'll go to the store and buy things even though I don't need to buy anything.
Is that like food buy or
Yeah,
like
I'll go to Whole Foods and go buy some snacks or chocolate or something.
Yo, that's honestly what I do when I'm stressed. Okay, the people listening to this at the gym, they know this. I buy wasabi almonds.
Oh,
Oh
those
my
are
God,
good.
wasabi almonds, and I grab rice cakes. And they're like, what? Why all of a sudden? Why? It's like once or twice a month. And just go. I feel you on that.
You just need it
You
sometimes.
gotta
Um,
absolutely. Oh
but
my
yeah, just
gosh.
like exercise and
Yep.
just getting out of the environment too,
Mm.
like right now I work in a closed space. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes you just need to go out for a walk. Maybe you need to go do something else for a little bit and just not always
Mm-hmm.
grind all day.
Yeah. See, that's great. Like, when you do work out, like, what kind of workouts do you do? Because people are probably thinking, what does a physical therapist do? What does a
I
physical
know.
therapist do? They're probably curious.
I get asked that a lot because it's like, how do you look so good? What do you do? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I right now I don't have any goals. When
Mm-hmm.
before, like I used to have goals where like I really want stronger legs so I can
Mm.
go hike or I can bike more or something like that.
Oh.
Right now I don't really have any goals. So right now I'm aiming to run around 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to hit about 10 miles total for the week. And that's just me. That's just what
There
I
you
want to
go.
do. But right
Yeah.
now, like, I don't know if you saw Washington's like on fire and California's on fire
I know.
completely.
See, that is crazy. The
Yeah. So I
smoke
haven't been
and
outside at
like,
all. But
oh
yeah.
my God.
So right now I'm not running because it's just really crappy outside. I try to, and because the gyms are closed, our gym did open up for a bit, and it made me uncomfortable because everyone was like really sectioned off in a small area. Some people weren't cleaning, some people weren't listening to the rules, and you had to work out with a mask on the whole time. So I was like, you know what?
Really?
Like,
Mask on the whole time?
Wow. Well, your place is better because yours is open, right? This is like a closed area. So all the gyms here, we have to wear masks. So anyways, where was I going with that? I try to lift 2 to 3 times a week, and I just do total body, because if I had more time to lift, I would probably do like a legs, chest, back. Like, I'd probably split it a bit more, but right now I'm just doing like whole body 2 or 3 times, run 2 or 3 times. All the other times, like I'll bike, I'll go play soccer, I'll play tennis. And that's literally it. I try to do core like almost every time I lift, or almost every time I run. That's just because of me, because like I do a lot, so I need a strong core to kind of support my activities and my lifestyle.
There we go.
Support
the lifestyle.
So it's specific, right? You have to be specific.
Right. And that's great because, you're mentioning a lot of sports and outdoor and hiking. And that's what I remember about Seattle. It's that Seattle is really beautiful in terms of like the nature. I remember there's a lot of bike trails. Like we don't really have that in Hawaii, but like a lot of bike trails, a lot of hiking spots, even just the intramural activities of tennis, soccer, volleyball. Were you living in Seattle your whole life, or?
No, actually. So I'm from Eastern Washington. So Eastern Washington's on the other side of the Cascades, and it's like dry desert heat. It's not very pretty. There's no trees. There's a lot of tumbleweeds and like dry dirt. So like obviously outdoor stuff was better to do, because it was dry and it wasn't too wet. So you could run, you could play tennis, you could do all these fun things. But then the west side of the state has more green and it's really beautiful. So like hiking's awesome. Biking is awesome because you go by the water, you get to see all the cool features. So yeah, definitely like an outdoorsy state for sure.
Dang. Is that like one of your favorite things about Seattle then?
Yeah, for sure. There's just a lot to do. That's it. Like you never run out of things to do.
That's true. You never run out of to do in Seattle.
Do you run out of things to do in Maui?
You can, because I remember when I moved back home after living in Seattle for a little bit, I was like, everything is closed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
There's not, not too much stuff like Seattle. I really miss, I really miss the Korean barbecues. I miss a lot of the Chinese food. The food.
The food is so good.
The food. Oh my God. I miss the food in Seattle.
Good.
That's one thing I really miss. It's very diverse too, which I really enjoyed. When I first visited Seattle, I was thinking, oh my God, people are so diverse. I mean, you see all types of backgrounds, ethnicities. And I was like, oh, this is like home. This is great.
Yeah.
So Seattle. Wow. And another thing too, like, was there a place that you guys like to travel, or because I know you guys like traveling kind of, right?
Yeah.
I like traveling too.
Not necessarily. Like, I don't know if I told you this. We went to Hawaii like 3 times in like 3 years, because every time I had a break in grad school, Hawaii was like the closest thing to like make it different, but still feel like I went somewhere. We went to Paris, what was it, last year, 2 years ago about, that was
Paris.
Good. Yeah, I went to Paris. That one was so fun. We were supposed to go to Italy this year. So I really want to go to Europe more. But right now, obviously that's not really an option.
Right.
But yeah, no specific place really. I like the beach a lot. So
there we go. People are listening. They're going to be like, next time you come to Maui, go to the beach, paddleboard.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Was the last time you came to Hawaii the time we worked out? Or
no, it was 2 years after that. Probably I think we went to the Big Island.
Oh, Big Island.
We went to the Big Island. Yeah, I went to Oahu.
Wow. Okay. Big Island. Was there people you knew there, or?
No reason really. Just kind of something a little different, and obviously, like, it was way more like city, a little more touristy. Honolulu. There's a ton of Japanese people everywhere, so. Blended in a little bit.
That's true about Oahu for sure.
Yeah. So it was good though. I have one friend that lives there, and so we just kind of hung out with him for a little bit, but that was it.
There you go. And speaking of friends, like, people are probably wondering how we met. And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember this was probably
this was in high school.
But high school. Yes. Was it with Lauren?
It was with Lauren.
Ouchi, shout out. And then we went to go eat somewhere. And I remember thinking like, oh. And then when you told me you were from Washington, I was like, wait, what is what? I've never been to the mainland at that point. I was like, what is Washington? I felt kind of like, I was like, oh my God. And then how did we keep in touch? Do you remember?
I think like we occasionally like messaged on Facebook or something like that. And then I don't really
college,
know,
right?
to be
Probably
honest.
college.
Like, and then you moved to Seattle. Yeah. And then you moved to Seattle. Was Lauren here too in Seattle? I don't think she was ever in Seattle.
Okay, maybe not. Yeah.
I don't know. But I just remember you coming to Seattle, and then I was like, oh, hey, like you're here. We should hang out. And like you were like down the street from me too.
That's right. Oh, that's right. I remember now because that's when I was just starting to date my fiance, and she.
You guys aren't married yet?
No, not yet. Hey, did you guys get married?
We did get married. We got, sorry, my computer just shut off for a second. Yeah, we got married.
Congratulations.
End of July.
Yeah.
It was like
2 months ago.
It was 2 months ago, like backyard wedding, you know. But we're still going to try to have a big wedding next year because we have everything reserved and not everyone could be there. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out.
Dang. See, that's incredible. Because I remember like, I mean, from back in 2000, that was 11 or 12, I think, right around college. Oh my God. And then that's when I remember you took me to the gym. You took me to the UW gym.
Did I really?
Yes, because I remember looking at it too. And then you had a pass or something. That's when I know that you were teaching class. And I was like, oh, and we worked out. And actually, I don't even remember what kind of workout I did, but I remember working out. And then I think you had to go. So I just finished my workout or something. But I remember going in campus at that time. Dang.
Fun. Yeah, we went to campus. I remember going to campus. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was almost 10 years ago. Yeah, I know.
We look the same. It's fine.
See, that's the thing, man. Like
the best part.
You could pass as like early 20s.
Easy.
Oh, easy. And you know, Melissa, people are probably wondering too, like, just made me think about like habits, because is there certain things that you eat? I know I talk about the workouts, maybe like sleep, waking up, all that stuff, reading, anything that you do like that is kind of like a habit by this point, or?
I mean, like 80% of the time it's a habit, but I mean, I'm only human. I try to eat like a lot of like fresh fruits and vegetables, and sometimes I'll just steam my vegetables. And I like, I remember seeing it a long time ago, and like when I was still in college, that like half your plate should be green or some kind of like fiber, because it's less dense, right? So you're going to eat more of it, you'll feel more full, but also like just for digestive health, like you need to have that fiber. So I try to eat vegetables. I cut out dairy, mainly because I was a little bit dairy sensitive and I didn't feel good when I ate it, but like my skin cleared up like a lot when I cut out dairy. That was really good.
Cutting out dairy.
Yeah. I mainly just drink water. I don't really drink.
Yeah, there we go.
That's all I drink is water. Maybe the occasional beer or so, but like I've gotten to the point where like I try to drink a soda and it just tastes gross. So that's like, I think that's a good habit for the most part. Otherwise, like I'm pretty lax with my diet. Like I go by how I feel a lot of the time. So sometimes, like, you know, when you're hungry, your body needs something and you have to give it what it wants. But sometimes if you eat that cheeseburger, you're not going to feel good and you still won't feel full. You know what I mean?
That's true. You won't feel full sometimes. See, and see that people are probably wondering like the whole feeling, you know, when you're talking about like feeling and eating. And I understand that. And when people ask that, do people ask you about that? Like, how do you eat, physical therapy?
Not really. No, people haven't really talked to me that much about it. Like sometimes like people ask me about weight loss and like macros, and I can just give them the very basics. Like this is protein, this is fats, and these are carbs. You should probably get roughly around this much protein in your diet. You want to stay around these parameters and carbs and fats, which I really don't know off the top of my head right now. It just depends on how much you weigh. But in the end, like that's not my scope. I can only give them the tools. So like if I just really just want to focus on like getting them better and out there, that's fine. But if they need a little more help, usually I just refer out to a dietitian.
There we go. And you have like dietitians in your area, like that?
Right now, because I switched to a new clinic, I don't really have specific ones I refer out to yet. I'm still kind of working on that. And I think actually it would be really good to kind of get more involved in that community, because especially since everything's telehealth, dietitians like really have a good advantage because you just like sit down and you counsel someone, you go through their diets and stuff like that. So yeah.
That's
so maybe you should go find a dietitian to interview and then I'll learn from them.
Yeah, no, see, there we go. We got to get a dietitian on board. And oh my gosh, see, that's the book that I wanted to write. Okay, people might steal this. It's okay. I was gonna write. It was a book called Food Kills and Food Cures.
Okay.
And I was gonna interview 50 doctors, dietitians, physical therapists, all types of different backgrounds, and then compile that into like one book. So I know this whole thing, man, it's gonna be the second book. But I'm curious, Melissa, like, what are some of the mistakes that you might see other people in your industry making that you're like, oh, when you see that, you like your gut wrenches?
Are you talking about like PT industry or like coaching? Because I still coach a little bit. I don't know if I told you. I work at Orange Theory.
Sweet.
Kind of fill in when I need to.
How is that like? Orange Theory. I've always been curious.
It's so fun. You need to go. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Obviously they're closed right now, so there's not really classes that are open, but it's a really good way to push somebody, especially like if they need that cardio and they're just trying to lose those pounds. Obviously like the diet needs to be on point too, but like compared to the other like group fitness ones, this one's a little bit more cardio heavy, but I just really like the way it pushes people. And they're very good about like making sure everyone's safe and has options and they don't feel negative and stuff. So yeah, it's
Orange
awesome.
Theory. So let's start with that one then. Orange Theory, like in that fitness coaching space. What do you see?
Sure. So I've been in the fitness coaching area just like roughly 5 years or so. And a lot of what I see are like two ends of the spectrum. You have people who undercoach and people who overcoach. And then you have the people who just kind of overcoach. You have the people who just kind of sit there and say what they need to say. And they sound like they're pre-recorded and it's just doesn't really, it tells people what to do, but they're not really feeling motivated. They're not getting the cues they need to really succeed. And then you have the other end of the spectrum and then also given, like sometimes people are like that because they're just starting out and they really just need to practice. That's fine. But then you have sometimes other people who overcoach and they try to say too much on the microphone. So much so it's distracting. Sometimes I see coaches, they go to somebody and they'll like try to overcorrect them. Like, oh, your pelvis needs to be here. Your knee needs to be here. And like, well, it's a group setting. So you can't really give someone that much individual attention. And how much attention do they really need? You know, if they're not hurting themselves and their knee is just a little off, they're just there to have a good time. They're just there to move. You know, they're not there to perform and like do their heaviest squat or something. But at the same time, like there's a benefit to it. It just depends on the person and the person you're talking to. And I think one thing that kind of irks me a bit about the fitness industry is like when people overstep their boundaries as a fitness professional. So you have coaches, personal trainers who will have a client with like knee pain. And then they're like, well, you should do these exercises for your knee pain. But do they really know what's wrong with their knee? Or are they just doing it because someone told them this is what you do for knee pain? Right. So that's when it comes to like, in the PT world, like you don't want to have a cookie cutter approach to everything because everyone's so different. Every injury is different. That knee pain might be like a tear. It could be a hamstring strain. It could be like patellofemoral. It could be so many different things. And to be able to differentially diagnose those is going to make them better and not worse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. And that's the whole thing about like referring them to, you know, different experts and things like that. So that's so good. Like undercoaching, overcoaching. Wow. And then what about in the physical therapy realm?
Yeah. So in the PT realm, I've only been a PT for like a little over a year. Just granted, this is just what I've seen so far and in my clinicals and all these things like that. So sometimes in the PT world, we have PTs that are very like tried and true. This is the method. This is the way. Like they have a one kind of approach. Like every patient's going to get this type. You know, like I said, like cookie cutter in a way.
Right, becomes
they don't really personalize things. And that could be like the result of a couple different things. Some clinics, they cut their patient time. So like you spend only 30 minutes with a PT and then you spend 30 minutes with like an exercise tech, which could be someone like you who's a fitness professional, but doesn't have the license or the background to teach someone and know what's wrong with them. But you can follow instructions and instruct an exercise. That makes sense? So some clinics are like that, and some of them are even shorter. It's like you only get 20 minutes with a PT. They kind of make sure everything, sometimes they're like, oh, you just make sure everything's okay. You massage them for a bit and then you send them to do their exercises. But to me, like seeing someone do their exercises tells you so much more. And that's when they really might need that like hands-on, like, okay, now you really need to correct your squat. You really need to make sure your pelvis isn't doing this, your knee's not doing that, because that is why when you're 500 squats in, that's why your back hurts or something like that. So it kind of irks me a little bit that the PT industry is moving in that direction. Like let's say, for example, like in New York, like think of New York, the reimbursement for patients is quite low. So insurance companies don't pay a lot. And so as a result, for PT companies to stay afloat, they need to increase their quantity of patients that they're seeing.
The amount of people. Oh, wow.
So think about this. You're in a clinic, you work 10 hours and you see 30 patients.
10 hours, you see 30 patients. So that's 20 minutes. It's like,
or some PTs, they'll see 2 patients at a time. You got one eye going that way, one eye going the other way, while someone else is doing their exercise with them. So it's not very personalized. And again, like this is because the industry has created a way they don't value PT. So the reimbursement's so low that the people revert to these ways to survive.
Wow.
And it's not necessarily the most efficient way for someone to get better a lot of the time. So that's like the number one thing in PT, I think, really bothers me a lot. It's just kind of where that standard is going.
Wow. The insurance, kind of like the insurance. I mean, because you're saying that you got to just increase the quantity at that point, huh?
So there's other ways that other PTs are getting around that. They do cash-based. They do cash-based pay. So, which is a little bit more expensive, but in the end, like the PT gets more and the insurance companies don't get anything. So like, you know how in health insurance works, you meet a deductible, and after you meet that deductible, then insurance will pay a little bit more. But usually most people's deductibles are really high. Like they're like $5,000 or $10,000. And most of the time people don't ever meet that. So they're paying so much money to the insurance companies that don't actually ever cover them until they hit that number.
Dang. You know, and speaking about like insurance and other PTs, what do you think we should look for? Like as a consumer, as like from the outside, if we were to look for a physical therapist, what would you look for?
I would first ask, like, what's their like provider to client ratio? Is it a 1-to-1? Is it a 1-to-2? Do you get 30 minutes with the PT, 30 minutes with the tech? And most of the times 30 minutes with the PT, 30 minutes with the tech is actually fine for the majority of the population. It's just, like I said, it's a little bit more of a standard now, and that's okay. Oops, sorry, hold on. My dad's calling me. Hello. Okay, you're good. I'll call him back. Anyways, I would make sure you look at their education. Like, did they graduate recently? Did they graduate 20 years ago? What do they specialize in? Because like maybe they see like a ton of runners, and that's good, because maybe the person that you want to send them is like a runner, and that's what their goals are. And also like looking at a PT and, you know, what are their interests? Because obviously like if someone, like I play tennis, if I get a tennis player in the door, like I'm super psyched and I really want to get them on the court. So that motivates me to get them better.
Even more so,
yeah, exactly. So if you look at their interests, their specialties, certifications, things that align with your goals, I think that's the second thing to look for. And yeah, I think you can kind of tell a lot by your first visit too. You talk to them, you want to make sure you get along with them.
Get along with them too, because you're
going to spend a lot of time with this person. If you don't get along, like it's not going to be great for either of you. And you can always,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because they can be the best, and then what I'm hearing is if it's not like a personality match, then you're right.
Exactly. A lot of like what we were taught in PT school and what I see a lot in the industry is like if you're a crappy person, you could be the smartest person in the world, but you're not going to be an amazing PT if you can't connect with people.
Dang, the human part. That's the physical. Dang. I don't know how to even word that. Yeah, that's that connection. That's the connection. That's all I can say. Oh my gosh. People part. Wow.
People part.
Yeah. And, you know, kind of going into that, like the last couple questions, I love asking this.
Yeah, sure.
If you could go back to Melissa at 18 years old, what advice would you give yourself? 18 years old, right out of high school.
I would be right out of high school. I think, and I was thinking about this when I saw your questions. I was like, I would really tell myself to just like take a chill pill and just like live a little bit.
Take a chill pill.
Yeah, because I was so stressed out, I think, about like my future and school and all these things. And in reality, like I have so many years to worry and work and do all these things, and just kind of like every now and then take a moment for myself and just enjoy like life. And just to kind of follow that too. So like if like I said, I was following the medicine route for a long time, and I wasn't really sure if I really liked it. I wish I took a little bit more time to explore other things like PT, but maybe other things too. Just give it a try and just be open to what excites me and what I'm interested in versus what I think I should be doing.
I like that. Chill pill and check out other things too.
Yeah.
That's the caption. Chill pill and try other things.
And then go do other stuff.
And try other stuff. And so wait, I'm curious. So when you're 18, were you at UW already, or?
I think so, right? Because that's when I graduated high school. I probably started that fall at UW. Yeah. And I didn't even have a major at that point. I couldn't decide on one.
Got it. Just getting all the credits.
Just doing it, yeah.
And you're saying you're kind of stressed out a lot at 18 about?
I think like I just didn't know what I wanted, you know, and I remember every quarter I was in college, I took so 15 is like a full load, right? I took like 18 to 20 credits every single quarter. So I was exactly chill pill. Like I didn't need it. It's fine.
Oh, it's classic. That's awesome. Like what kind of classes was that? Because you say it wasn't a major. The first couple years, was it more just what kind of
it was just like, you know, the prerequisites to make sure you graduate. So like English, the general biology, like stuff like that. Like everyone has to take a science class to graduate kind of thing. But I ended up double majoring for a little bit, and then I double majored and minored, and then I dropped a major my senior year. And so I ended up with a public health major and a nutrition minor. But having all of those credits under my belt, like I just took so many classes.
Wow. And the nutrition minor, you were saying?
Yeah.
Oh, and what kind of drew you into the nutrition, like going into that nutrition minor? Because it was
just fun. It was interesting. Fun? Yeah, it was fun and interesting.
That's great. We need more people like that.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was more than just like, these are macros, these are fruits and vegetables. Like we looked a lot at like the food industry and like big companies and where they're at, and like, you know, meat processing, like all those big issues. I'm
curious about this now. So wait, the food companies and all of that, what you were just saying, what are your thoughts on some of that?
I mean, I think I don't have anything against it, because at the end of the day, I just look at the ingredients and I look at the nutrition facts. And I mean, the idea of the big industries is that, like, let's say Pepsi owns like all these other sub companies that also sell snacks and stuff like that, and which is fine. It's again, like, you just have to pay attention to what you're eating, what's going into your body. I think like my favorite thing in a nutrition class is going over Cheetos, because Cheetos are like my favorite snack. Yeah.
Hey.
They're so good.
Flamin' hot Cheetos or regular Cheetos?
No, the jalapeno Cheetos. They're not too spicy, but they're so good. But they go through like the science of like the snack, and they formulated that flavor to be just like, you know, addictable, but enough that like your brain forgets it, so you want more. Isn't that so interesting?
That is really like you think about it, Pepsi, if you do that with the Cheetos, you probably do that with your drinks too, huh?
They probably did that with everything, to be honest. So yeah. That's why we're here.
Boom. Just wait, so you're saying Pepsi or these big companies own these smaller sub companies that produce like Cheetos and stuff. I didn't know that Pepsi owned Cheetos.
I don't think Pepsi owns Cheetos. I can look it up for a second. Let's give me 2 seconds.
That's really cool.
Pepsi companies, because Pepsi isn't just a beverage company. They also, so PepsiCo also owns Mountain Dew, Gatorade, all this stuff.
Gatorade.
Tostitos, Fritos, Walkers.
Tostitos.
Like it's so much.
That's my favorite.
If you Google it, like Google all the sub brands, it's insane. It's insane. They're all connected.
That's crazy. And it's just probably like those chips too. It's probably just salty enough, like what you're saying, where it's
exactly.
Where it's not too much.
I just want more though. Yeah.
That's so crazy if you think about it. And I'm guessing that's with like all the companies, right? Like Coca-Cola and all these guys too.
Like all those major ones. There's not just one product. There's like millions of other products for sure.
Wow, the food industry. And that's why, like, so I'm curious, for the people listening, what do you look for on the food label?
So I tend to look at, first thing I look at is like protein and fiber.
Protein and fiber.
Because, well, and the sugar as well.
Sugar.
It just depends. I kind of like skim what pops out to me most. So protein, like I struggle to get enough protein in my diet. That's just personally me. So I make sure it at least has some that will make me feel full. The fiber will also help me feel full as well. But also the added sugar. Like if there's like 30 added grams of sugar, like holy crap, I might crash later. You know, like that's gonna be really sweet. I don't necessarily count calories. Sometimes I do if I have a goal, but obviously the calorie count's important. You want to know how dense the food is that you're eating. So like a cheeseburger is a very calorie dense food, but there's not necessarily like a ton of fiber in it. And there's like a lot of fat. So for saturated fat, I don't actually know what the value is, but like there's a recommended amount you want to stay under every day. That amount used to be like really low. Like, and again, don't quote me on this. It might be like 10. Okay. You eat a cheeseburger. That's like 10 right there. You know?
Right there. Boom.
So, or like you eat like some potato chips. That's like 3. Like, and that's only 1 serving. You probably eat more than 1 serving of potato chips at a time. So just paying attention to that. And when I look at the ingredients, you want to make sure like the palm oil isn't super good for you. Different kinds of oils. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. This is just what I look at. But just looking at, and then seeing things like natural flavors or natural ingredients in it. That's just a broad term for, I don't know what this is.
You know what I mean? It, right? Yeah.
No, they literally put like natural ingredients or natural flavors in there instead of the actual name of what's in there. So it's like, you don't know what's in your food all the time.
Yeah, we don't know.
You don't know.
Wow.
So again, you need to get a nutritionist on here so we can talk to them about that.
Damn. Yeah, we'll get a yeah, we gotta get a
we gotta go get one.
We gotta go find someone. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So now we're talking about food. Like my guilty foods is I like, well, sushi's really not guilty, but sushi, steak.
Sushi's good.
And pizza once in a while. Like people are probably asking like, what is your guilty foods, Melissa? They're probably like, what is this person's guilty foods?
It's probably no, not sushi. Sushi's not guilty. It's probably pizza. It's just such an easy, quick like dinner, and we'll like, this is really bad. We'll go to Safeway and buy those like $5 Safeway pizzas and just like, eat it. Yeah. And it's so good. I eat a salad with it. It's not too bad. Because actually, if you eat something with fiber, like that's natural, and I'm not sure what the word is. I just remember learning this in school. If you eat something and you follow it with something like that, it'll actually decrease the amount of sugar that gets absorbed into your blood, or it changes the way that like you absorb your glucose. I'm going to say it that way because I don't actually remember what it is. So like, let's say like I eat a pizza and then I crash after because my blood glucose drops so quickly, it just gets taken up by the cells super fast. It just drops. But then if I eat some like oranges and salad with it, it might not drop as quickly. Does that make sense?
I like this. So that's a great tip. That. We might make that the highlight clip, what you just said about the pizza and the salad.
But I'm not a nutritionist. Don't quote me on that.
I know.
Do something PT related.
Oh my gosh.
Go ask a nutritionist.
That's a personal thing. I will. Wow. No, but yeah, no, that's true, because when I talked to one of my friends who's a nutritionist, they tell me the same thing about balancing the fiber so the insulin doesn't the insulin spikes and all these things. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is why I love learning. I just love learning from smart people. Like, this is great. Thanks for, sharing this. And, Melissa, one thing I want to just say is that I want to just acknowledge you, because from the time we first met to now, probably like almost at least over 10 years, right? 15 years close to. We've been keeping in touch, and every time I reach out, you've always been kind and open and just respectful and really helpful. And if I didn't know something, you'd be like, oh yeah, here it is, or let me show you this, or you're always just really helpful. So I just wanted to appreciate and acknowledge you, Melissa, for coming on. And final question.
Oh no.
Final question.
Let's do it.
So our motto in the book I wrote, Fighting Sickness with Fitness. What does fighting sickness with fitness mean to you?
So I thought about this for a little bit. And if you think of like fighting is like a battle, right? And a battle has a lot of ups and downs. So if you're in a battle, like you're gonna have some victories, which are great, but you're also gonna have some downs where you feel like you were defeated. Maybe it's an injury, maybe something happened in your life, maybe you just slipped up on your diet that one day. But like, with a battle, like you just gotta push forward. So making sure that the fitness aspect is not just a constant, it's going to be up and down, but you always have to keep moving forward. And it's important, especially today, like where inactivity, food especially, like causes so many issues, and people just go to the doctor and they usually get something that has to do with medication or something a little bit more expensive, where really like exercise and movement is the solution many of the times. And something's behind you. Exercise and movement is really a cheaper, more effective solution. It's just really hard to get started. It's really hard to get started. So getting started is the hardest part. Getting consistent is hard as well. So making sure that you're really just fighting that battle every day and keep pushing forward. Fitness is more than just, going to a gym and cranking out 3 sets of 10 or something like that. It could be just a change in routine. It could be like taking the stairs at work, going out for walks. Like it could be such little things. It doesn't need to be this structured, scary thing that a lot of people make it out to be. And it just takes a really small step to get started.
Dang, that's the answer. That's the mic drop.
Boom.
Right there. Boom. Dang. Melissa, I want to just thank you so much for hopping on the podcast again. And where can our audience find you one more time?
So on Instagram, you just type in my first name. It's Melissa, Melissa, the letter L, DPT, and that's it. Melissa L, DPT.
DPT, got it. We'll put that all in the description. Serene, counting on you, appreciate it. And thank you so much again, Melissa. Really appreciate it. Next time we're gonna get you and a nutritionist together.
Yes, because I want to know too.
We'll do that together. We'll do like a co-host kind of thing in the future.
No, it'd be good.
Really appreciate it because my mind just learned a lot about like the coaching cues and all this stuff. And
thanks for having me.
So thank you so much again, and thanks for sharing your experience and all your knowledge with us. And for those of you guys listening, if you're driving, hope you guys didn't take notes if you're driving, but if you're listening somewhere else, hope you're taking notes. It's some good information. And until next Monday, stay healthy and keep on fighting sickness with fitness.